Welcome back, everyone. This is the 12-Step Big Book Workshop. My name is Lisa, and I am a student of the 12 Steps Method of Recovery. My focus fellowships are CODA, Al-Anon. Oh, there's so many. I'll just say I have many. And I'm grateful to be here with you all. And tonight we are working on Step 8. And that does not mean that you have to be on Step 8. That's just what we're going to look at tonight. So if you're not there, that's okay. Just take in the information and you can apply it later or whenever you need to, but that's where we're at. So if you'd like to join me in the set aside prayer with the willingness and the desire to have an open mind and an open heart with the gift of understanding as we apply our 8th step. So God, please set aside everything I think I know about myself, my step 8, my recovery, so that I may have a new experience with my shortcomings, my honesty, and amends, but especially with you. So step 8 is made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. So what is the purpose of step 8? In step 8, we identify who we have wronged. Then we willingly develop plans to address those wrongs while having an understanding of our past actions and our newfound caring for others. When Bill W. says, made a list of all persons we had harmed, he wants us to create a comprehensive list of everyone we've hurt through our actions, focusing on our behavior, selfishness, dishonesty, self-seeking, frightened, all those emotions, derived from our moral inventory in step 4. And more importantly, to become willing to make amends to them, to prepare to repair those damaged relationships when we get to step 9. Even if this is a little difficult or uncomfortable, we have to do it. So our goal is to take responsibility for our past, not so good behaviors, and not to dwell on others' wrongs, but to understand the impact of our addictions on our lives and others. So we start out by making a list while asking ourselves, who might I have diminished? Who did I affect negatively? And we keep in mind that this is not about what we did so much as what was the negative impact of our behavior on another person. And to make your list, brainstorm everyone you've harmed due to your addictions, including family, friends, coworkers, sometimes strangers, and yourself. Then use a 2 or 3 column format, person, harms, amends, to detail the wrongs, focusing on our actions, not theirs. We will review the list and gain willingness to make amends in step 9, even if some amends must be indirect or living amends. So review your inventory and look back at your step 4 to recall specific instances where your actions harmed others, but noting your part. We took an inventory of our faults and shortcomings, the damages done in addiction, and how we are responsible for all the created chaos in our lives. Step 4 is a launching point for continued work in steps 8 and 9. Look back at your step 4 inventory to recall specific instances where your actions harmed others, noting your part, which when you look at the sheets, the worksheets that we used, your information is right there in those sheets. You don't have to go into your memory or any of that. You're going to look at your resentments and your answers are all going to be there. And then we make the list of those people whose relationships we have damaged so that we can bring healing to the guilt that we feel. Being able to see the hope of new beginnings on paper is a launching point for long-term recovery. And it really sets us up when we see this work that we're doing to be different people in the future. So there are two parts to step 8. The first part is making that list of the people we have harmed with our poor behaviors. And the second is becoming willing to make the actual amends. So the easy part is making the list, and the hard part is being willing to make the amends to the people. It can be very frightening for a lot of us. The key process of step 8 is removing self centered thinking and learning humility, which is a foundational character quality necessary for long term recovery. The key principles of step 8 are built upon the first 7 steps, where we became, as Bill says, willing to go to any lengths for victory. And as I said, step 8 it's a difficult step for several reasons. You must relinquish resentments, personal hurts, and fears. You step toward repairing the wreckage caused by the addiction, and then you become more spiritually aware and renewed. Making a list of those we have harmed is an exercise in becoming a giver instead of a taker. But Bill cautions against approaching someone we have harmed in order to make ourselves feel better about our past. The focus should be on the other person. Ironically, the amends is for the other person, but the end result is we are set free from the burden we have consciously or unconsciously been carrying. It may not seem like it, but it colors everything that we did and do, and ultimately how we feel about ourselves until we release it through amending it. Honesty is an essential part of step 8 because we must confront how our behavior has affected other people. Accepting that our mistakes have harmed others and then becoming willing to make the amends is an essential part of healing. Having worked through step 4, your sponsor or step guide can hold you accountable for making that complete list. It does take courage to admit we have hurt other people, especially if they have hurt us also. But making the list does not guarantee you are ready to take action in step 9. That's why developing a willingness to make these amends can be the hardest part of the process. Working through step 8 with your sponsor or step guide helps you define the initial people with whom you must make amends and who you should probably not address. Because there will be people that you're not going to be in their presence and make an amends. So we focus on the willingness and building the courage to face past actions with humility and a genuine desire to repair our relationships. Think about how your unmanageability and addictions affected others emotionally, financially, or physically. When Bill W. says, made a list of all persons we had harmed, he wants you to create a comprehensive list of everyone you've hurt through your actions, focusing on your behavior from your moral inventory, your step 4. So I hope nobody threw theirs away. You don't ever throw your paperwork away. You might want to hide it, but don't throw it away. And write down everyone you have harmed. But our resentments are not to be factored into this list. This is not about us, technically. This is why most people work the steps several times during their lifetime. Getting specific is necessary because being ambiguous only makes the amends insincere and ineffective. Be thorough, include everyone, family, partners, friends, coworkers, strangers, and yourself, because we do self-harm. Take your time and honestly evaluate your actions, why they were wrong, and who the primary victims of your actions are. Write down the people who come to mind in no particular order, doesn't matter. So if a name pops into your head during the process, there's usually a good reason. So add it to your list. The point is to include people you have harmed or hurt without accounting for the circumstances or your excuses. Therefore, we indiscriminately include people we've hurt before, during, and after our addiction. Include people who we may have hurt quite mildly, at least in our opinion. At this point, you're also not concerned whether they will want to hear from you or not, or even if the individuals on the list are living or dead. It doesn't matter. Include yourself on this list. You have certainly caused yourself a significant amount of harm. And this should also be acknowledged and addressed because we have to remember the source, where it was happening, why it was happening, where it was coming from. Bill says on page 76, we have a list of all persons we have harmed and to whom we are willing to make amends. We made it when we took inventory. We subjected ourselves to a drastic self-appraisal. And Bill combines steps 8 and 9, and this is the only steps he does this with. So there's a lot of blending of the two steps. 8 is a naming step, and 9 is an action step. In even steps, we name our shortcomings. In the odd steps, we take the actions to remedy them. Bill says, remember it was agreed at the beginning we would go to any lengths for victory over our addiction. If you have decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. This was the commitment that we made in step 3. And that commitment was to continue and do steps 4 through 9 and finish that. I don't know if you guys remember that, but we talked about that in step 3, that the commitment was that we were going to finish and do steps 4 through 9. And that's what we were talking about. We're there now. We're already at that point. So this could easily be considered the most difficult of all the steps because it is the only step that requires us to go out to people who, for their own reasons, may not understand the process we're in, or they have not addressed their own dysfunctional behaviors. When we look them in the eye, we might make an indirect amend and talk about the damage that we may have caused them with the willingness to repair it to the best of our ability. And an amazing thing that happens is as we go down the road of recovery, the things that we address in our amends change. We see different ones that we might not have seen in the beginning. So it's a continual process that we're doing. So when making your list, you will likely think of people who hurt you as well, sometimes pretty badly. And this is inevitable. Some of our worst actions may have been some sort of revenge towards people we believed, at least at the time, had wronged us. Some people may have treated us badly in response to our actions. Keep in mind that at the end of the day, human behavior is messy, and there is hardly ever one side that is completely to blame for a bad situation. And although our relationships with other individuals are messy, in step 8, we're focused on taking responsibility for our own actions. And we remember to avoid blaming other people, especially and that means relieving ourselves of responsibility for our actions. And Bill says, the goal is to clean up our side of the street, to take responsibility for our own part, and we attempt to sweep away the debris which has accumulated out of our effort to live on self-will and run the show ourselves. Therefore, we avoid the temptation of skipping over people we have resentful feelings towards, such as anger. Instead, work through your negative feelings by doing another 4th-step resentment inventory on them. If you do not feel ready to confront a specific individual because of anger and resentment, it's okay to delay it. But only if, in the meantime, you work on processes your negative emotions for your 4th step. It defeats the purpose of this 8th step to merely procrastinate indefinitely. At some point, you'll need to make amends to the people you seriously hurt, no matter how complicated your feelings are about it. Bill says, if we haven't the will to do this, we ask until it comes. We ask through prayer. And Bill puts us into prayer because this is a spiritual process to overcome our spiritual malady. We ask that we be given the strength and direction to complete this task. This is in keeping with the 11th step. It ends with praying for the knowledge of God's will and the power to carry that out. We are human because we have a mind that thinks and knows, but we also have free will that decides to take the action. We're asking our higher power for direction because we need the power that we don't possess to actually accomplish this task by understanding what to do and then the strength to carry that out. No matter what the personal cost is, we have already decided to go to any length. And it can be difficult to recognize all the ways our actions may have hurt others. These examples highlight different types of harm, such as emotional, financial, and relational, that can help you create a more honest and complete list. Emotional examples would include lying, verbal abuse, creating a lack of trust, and blaming someone else for our poor behavior. Physical is domestic violence, getting in fights with others, engaging in high-risk behaviors, and damage done to the body by our use. Financial can be stealing from family and friends, spending into debt, losing savings, homelessness due to the use. Social is avoiding family gatherings, abandoning spouses and children, breaking up families through infidelity, being antisocial, or being embarrassing while we're using. And self-harm can be cutting and branding, damage to our health through excessive use, losing jobs, and being unable to care for self or be independent of specialized care. That's just a small list. Making amends can take many different forms depending on what brings healing without causing more harm to either person. This may include direct amends through personal apologies or indirect amends when direct contact isn't possible, and living amends by changing your behavior moving forward. Direct amends is direct action to repair damage we have created with personal interaction with the person. So it's one-on-one physically. It can be also on the phone considered direct. Or like on a Zoom call, that would be direct. It is important that we do not ask for forgiveness because this is not about us gaining something through this amends process from the person we have offended. Amends is about being aware of our behavior and how it has injured the other person. The gain for us is that we are releasing ourselves from our guilt and shame. In doing that, we decrease the probability of repeat behaviors, which in turn lead us down that addiction path. When I made amends to my adult children, my amends was very difficult to deliver to them, and it was probably painful for them to receive. As part of my amends, I have become a better mother, and I do it very consciously. I chose to do it in letter form as I had many things to amend, and the letter allowed me to make sure I got it all addressed. We also talked about the information in the letter. I talked about it with each of my children. When they struggle with an issue that I initially had a part in while raising them in my dysfunctional craziness, I do my best to be supportive and informative in helping them with those effects. It's not done in guilt. I have let go of beating myself up for my shortcomings, and I see it as an ongoing amends. The gift is the mom I am now, the person they are proud of. They are part of my journey, for better or worse. And I continue to be the better mom. That was the real me underneath the unmanageability and dysfunction. I didn't know that I didn't know, but now that I do know, I do better. It doesn't erase the past, but it opened the door to being better than I could have ever imagined, and it has made my children better people also. For them to experience me making the amends allowed them to look at themselves in a less harsh way also. It was really a wonderful experience. So if we set out with our amends and they reject our attempt at making an amends, then we allow them their own process, making their response their responsibility and their prerogative. It is important that we do not argue or criticize. This is a healing process, not an opportunity to pick up where we may have left off with things being unmanageable. Sometimes amends involve repaying a debt or repairing physical damage to property. We use indirect amends when we cannot meet a person face to face because they have died, moved away, or they refuse to meet with us. In my experience, a lot of my amends with people were with people who were abusive to me at times. So in this case, I did an indirect amends and find someone I can offer my kindness to that would appreciate it. I offer assistance to people in my community, such as my friend who is a minister. I offer service at her church for work. I don't have to attend the church to offer my assistance, and there is always something the church needs my help with. We may also use this type of approach when direct amends would cause harm to a person or ourselves. Sometimes bringing up the incidences in our past with the person that shared them with us is too much for them. And we can't harm when we do this, so we don't do those amends. And honesty is so important. Working with your sponsor or a fellow from your group, we can develop creative ways of performing indirect amends. Some write a letter and then burn it. Some donate to a charitable fund in the name of the person. Others perform charitable works of service like I do at that church. This is about amends for our recovery. A direct amends isn't always possible. So when we have to, we still do something to make an amends for our own sanity. The intention is so important. So a living amends is a changed lifestyle that may become your amends, which if there are other amends that you just can't seem to do or for whatever reason, a living amends is fantastic. And this is when we start showing up for our family and our friends in ways we were not able to do while we were in our addiction. It may show in the ability to hold a job and pay our own bills. Living amends is the evidence of a recovered life and continues throughout our lives in recovery, furthering our growth and sobriety. We don't get to an end where we make no more amends. Life keeps happening. It's just the way the ball bounces. So when we have injured other people, a host of emotional baggage drags us into avoidance. These emotions can include fear of rejection or retaliation, shame in believing we are just born losers, guilt of performance of the injury, anger of how the other person treated us in our disease, sadness that we had hurt someone that's important to us. And all these emotions are recognized and used to our advantage when we understand the essence of amends is to take responsibility for our feelings and behaviors. If people have died, moved away, or no longer want anything to do with us, making direct amends is impossible. Living amends and indirect amends are used in these cases. The key to step 8 is the willingness to try to make efforts to make amends. Making the list and including those you are never going to see or talk to again becomes essential to our own personal healing. The letting go of guilt and shame becomes the healing portion of the step 8 and step 9 process. And the healing is both people. Even if the person doesn't directly get our amends or the person has gone by or whatever, there's a healing that happens. There's a healing energy that surrounds us. But how do we become willing to make these amends? It's easy to write them out. This is where our burgeoning relationship with our chosen higher power comes into play. After making our list, we should pray and ask for the strength to make amends in general and the power to forgive those on our list whom we resent. A persistent practice of prayer and meditation will help us each reach the point where we are willing to make the specific amends we are holding back on. When thinking about the situation, we have to focus on our wrongs rather than those of the other individual. When we do think of the distasteful actions of others, we try to use empathy and have an open mind. Remember that while you probably have better self-awareness due to your recovery, they most likely do not. Also, this is not about repairing relationships or blaming other people, although in many instances it will improve relationships or it could put them to rest. The only goal is to take responsibility for our actions. This is a practice we will continue throughout our lifetime, taking account of how our actions impact others and correspondingly taking responsibility for the consequences of behavior is a task that we don't graduate from. Once we complete this step, we will be far quicker to notice our wrongs, acknowledge them, and make immediate amends for them. This is accomplished through our daily step 10. Our amends work will also help us do less damage in the future. And the less damage we do, the more recovery we have. It is an accurate compass of how far we have come. So I would love to hear your amends if you're willing and want to share, or if you have any issues or questions or concerns with your amends or anything I might have said about my amends. I would love to have some hands raised and see how we feel. Go ahead, Carol.
Okay, I'm going to go get my list, and I started working on the first person on my list, which is my twin sister. So
Oh, good. We
we
remember
go
this
get it.
story.
We go get it.
Carol has a twin sister that she's had a lot of resentment and anger towards for some inheritance money that the twin sister did not and will not share with her. So I'm looking forward to hearing Carol's amends.
Today, while I was doing this, I had to add some names to I went through my list that I originally made for the fourth step, but I had to add quite a few names today. So,
That's great. That's great. The
so
more you do, the better you'll feel.
well, I just want you to know I am so willing to do this. And I know it's going to take a lot of time. Just the amount of time that it took me just to work on my sisters. I mean, I think this took me at least half an hour. And I know that for all these people there, I think there are 13 people. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 people. It's going to take a large chunk of time, but I am so willing and I so want to do this because I want to be free of all this. All right, so I will start. First person on my list was my identical twin sister. Her birth name was Linda, but she changed her name to Ariel because she didn't like the name Linda. It was too ordinary. She wanted a name with more pizzazz. And also there was another reason, but I forgot what it was. Any, anyways, and I have used different verbs because I actually took them from a list because I just wanted to make sure that I covered every emotion. Okay, so angry. I was irritated with her at A meetings. I was enraged to her when she would not share my younger sister's inheritance. I was hostile with her when she refused to help me with my younger sister Debbie. I insulted her when she tried all these new experimental things, diets and yoga and all these far out things. I was very insulting. I was annoyed when she invited Lonnie and I to dinner and then spent the whole time ignoring her guests. I was upset when she would not help me take care of my mother when she was in hospice. I was hateful to her when she and Debbie stayed at mom's apartment after she died, and I stayed by myself in a hotel. I was bitter. I was jealous that she had more money than me. I was resentful that she made the next, the next swimming level at camp, and I didn't, going way back. I was infuriated when she and Joni, our next door neighbor, excluded me from playing with them. I was critical. A lot of these things were just a stream of consciousness. Things just kept coming to mind.
It works like that.
Yeah. I was critical of her dishonesty in FA. I was mean spirited. I was mean spirited about her dishonesty in general. I was spiteful because she had more friends than I had. I was furious that she did things with friends and in general and excluded me. I was agitated that she picked Peggy Lebov as her maid of honor at her wedding and not me. I was antagonistic because she has a more outgoing personality than me. I was repulsed by her arrogance and her expectation that she deserved to be treated like a queen. I was sarcastic about her dishonesty. I was, I can't even read this word, that she had the courage to, I was incensed that she had the courage to have a facelift and I was afraid to do it. I was envious that she traveled throughout the world and I have not. Um, I was something, can't read that. Oh, I was angry when she tricked my husband and me into taking care of her dog at the very last minute. I was impatient with her constant need to control me. I was exasperated when she always had to have her way. I was ticked off when she changed the t-shirt for my mom's 80th birthday. Well, I, I can't go into that. I was cross that she had friends from mom's cruise that she visited in the Bahamas, and I didn't have any friends to visit. I was short tempered that she was in the newspaper and had things written about her, and I didn't. I was quarrelsome because she seemed to be head over heels in love with her husband, her first husband, and I was not head over heels in love with my first husband. I was sharp that she took advantage of having Margaret, our housekeeper, our nanny, live with her when she had her child, and I felt I had to do it all on my own, which led to, my nervous breakdown. I was ashamed that she was in the popular crowd with Michael, her first husband. My husband was not in the popular crowd, and at least my conception of the popular crowd. I was alienated at her house for parties because of her popular friends. I was dejected when she went to Europe with Michael, that was her husband, and I stayed home to go to my psychiatrist appointments. I was critical. I was self-critical. I was self-critical. I wasn't as outgoing as she was. I was mm, disheartened when she got married. I felt abandoned, distrustful of her overbearing nature, disillusioned by her feelings of entitlement in Florida, getting the best room at the hotel, blah, blah, blah. Stressed by her feelings of entitlement, uncomfortable with her feelings of entitlement and superiority, touchy that she buys more expensive clothes than I do, disdainful of her manipulation, judgmental of her lifestyle. She and her first husband were swingers. And I thought that was terrible. Vulnerable. I felt vulnerable because people always told me I was prettier than she was. Fearful when people said I was prettier than she was. I didn't want her to have hurt feelings. I was drawn with her condescending manner. I was anxious when people said I was better looking than her. I felt threatened by her popularity. I was insecure. She was more relaxed with people at parties. I was indignant of her bullying ways. Wow. Ah, that's it. Phew.
All right. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
How many resentments have you filled out on this?
Oh gosh, lots.
A lot.
Yeah, lots of resentments towards her. And and what I honestly believe, and you tell me if this is off base. I don't think any of this harmed her. She was just who she was. She is just who she is. This flamboyant person that loves attention, is constantly doing things for attention. And I built up such a resentment toward her. I hurt myself because I was angry all the time. I was resentful. It led me to my eating disorder. It led me to all kinds of, carrying those resentments all my life. Um, it hurt me. I harmed myself
And
much
when
more than I harmed. I didn't harm her once. And
absolutely, and when you look at that list, are you prepared to make an actual amends?
I have already made amends to her many, many, many times. And this is what I wanted to ask you about. I have already made a living amends. Oh, I don't know if you all want to hear this, but she makes a great big celebration about everything she does, all her travels. And she just put her dog to sleep. She has a darling little dog. It's 15 years old. She put him to sleep. And I was reluctant to say words of kind. She photographed her dog the last days with her and her dog, and thank goodness she didn't video she had lap of love come out and put the dog to sleep while the dog was, well, Yami was on her lap, and it was very sweet. I've had it done with my pets too, but um but she has to broadcast it on Facebook. She documents everything she does and puts it on Facebook. And she had this video of her last walk with Yami and all these last pictures of, and I just, people were saying right and left, oh, we feel your pain. We know how much it hurts. I couldn't bring myself to say anything comforting except Yami was a wonderful dog, which he was. But I couldn't bring myself to say, oh, I know how much that dog meant to you. I just couldn't do it. So this happened last Friday. So today or yesterday on Facebook on her page, I wrote, and this is a result of doing all this work. I said, I love the fact that you are a resilient person and you're very imaginative. And I know that you will find something interesting and fun to do as you start this new chapter in your life. And that is one of the nicest things I've ever said to her, ever. I've always focused on her negatives, not her positives. And she has a lot of positives. She really does. That's it. What do you think?
So, so all those things that went on between you and your sister, is there's is there one that you really like hang on to and need to go to her and say, I apologize, or I'm sorry that this is what I've been doing to you? Or, if you compiled and you took all those on the list and you kind of balled it up into one big thing, what would that be?
You know, Lisa, I honestly don't think that it made any difference to her. Honestly,
This
I
isn't
really,
about her. No, it's not about her. This is about you.
okay. So,
So we got to get out of your sister's life because you're
all right.
very involved in your sister's life. How do you want to make amends, and what are you actually making the amends for? You have all those things on the list. How many of the things on the list have you already amended or did an actual resentment worksheet on?
Oh, most of them. Most
Okay.
of them.
So most of them are gone.
Yeah,
Okay,
most
so
of them
you
are
need to get
gone.
them off your list
I
because if
mean,
they're gone,
yeah.
they wouldn't be on your list.
Well, that's a very, very true statement. But
So what
just make,
and what happens is when we have this great big list like you have, and
mm.
you probably looked at it more than once, I'm going to guess.
Well, I made it today. I made it earlier today.
So every time you write out that list or you look at that list or you read it to someone else or you share it, you're reliving it. You're reactivating it.
Ah,
You're keeping it alive.
ah.
And like you said, she's not even aware of any of it. So you're
Yeah.
suffering over your sister who has no idea that you are, and you're treating her in ways that probably need you to be amended with her.
Well, I don't think I've ever I gossiped about her to other members in FA, saying, "Oh, she's such a phony," and this and that. So she doesn't know about that. So I guess I was definitely trying to damage her reputation because
So
so
when we're talking about an amends,
yeah,
if your sister isn't even aware that you did that damage or damage that you think, you have a big enough list that you would move on to something that she's aware of
I should move on to something she's aware of.
so that you can make amends. And then the ones that she's not aware of, you would make an amends to yourself
Oh yeah. Oh, I
because of
know. I have.
the way
I
you're
know.
living within yourself about your sister.
Right, right. Well, I don't. Uh, well, she knows that I was very annoyed with her for not helping me with my mother. She knows that. So,
But
um,
how did you behave towards her?
oh, I was sarcastic. I was annoyed. I was hateful. I was spiteful. It was awful
There's your amends. And
to
it
her.
sounds like those few things that you just listed could apply to most of everything on your list.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So there is an amends right there.
So but should I relate it to that specific topic? I was annoyed and spiteful because you did not help me with mother when she was in hospice. Is that what you're saying I should say to her?
How long ago was it?
Well, my mother died in 2007.
Are there more recent things that you could address so that she's not out in left field going, I don't even remember kind of thing? I mean, a relationship with a sister and it's a twin who there's probably been a lot of interaction that's been difficult.
Well, when I took care of her dog the last time, and she kind of tricked me into it, and I was really annoyed about that. I could make an amend for that, especially
Well,
now that
wait a
she
minute
put her
though, are
dog.
you going to amend it to yourself or to your sister? Because you did it free of free and willing.
I
Who's
did it, yeah. I actually took care
so who are you blaming? Your sister or yourself for taking the dog?
of myself.
Okay, so that's a different amends.
Okay. Well,
So we want to look at the people that we've treated poorly and behaved poorly towards.
mhm.
We can't make amends for every thought in our head about another person. We don't have time on the planet. But there are specific things that we've done that maybe we're not even aware of at the moment. And then when we start to think about it, we think, when I'm in a public place or a party or something, she's there, I treat her like she is a piece of crap because that's how I feel towards her and I want other people to know. And I don't like that I was that way. So I want to make an amends to her. I want to apologize that I treated her that way when she didn't
Well,
deserve.
I definitely think that that's true about FA, that I gossiped about her and I made everybody know that I was very annoyed with her dishonesty. So I could definitely make an amend about that.
But if you make an amends like that, she's not even aware of that. That's going to cause harm. And we don't want to cause any harm.
Hmm. Well, so what should I
So
do?
you're in an anonymous meeting expressing anonymous things. You don't go and share them with the person. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You want these are amends for direct things that you have done to your sister.
Well, what keeps coming to mind, and maybe this is just me being defensive, but she's done she's done more things to me that I've done to her.
But
She's
we
done,
can't do that. We can't go there.
I know, but I'm
That's the
trying to think
but
of
that's the
something.
resentment process, not the amends process. Well, that you can work through that in a resentment worksheet.
Right,
That's you got to do that first.
but
Because once you work through it, you're going to see that she wasn't to blame. And then
absolutely.
we need to give the apology because we realize they weren't the problem, we were. So we apologize for wrongly treating them that way.
I see that. I absolutely see that. So I could I think she knows how resentful I was of her, jealous of her. I think she knows that. I don't think it harmed her in any way. I don't think she really cared. It hurt
But,
me.
but we don't know, do we? We don't know how it affected her. You haven't asked her.
I haven't.
Yeah, and what we do is we assume things about people so that we don't have to take accountability. I don't think it harmed her. It's okay. It's all right. I did it, but she didn't care. What, no big deal. We can't do that. This is about Carol. This is about Carol's behaviors towards her twin sister. And it's about
Mhm.
Carol wanting to be free of these negative things and feelings that she's having. And the way to get
I
free is to bring it out into the open, shine the light on it, and make the amends. Because that's the person Carol's working towards being.
I understand. Oh my gosh, we've lost everybody, Lisa.
Don't worry. People come in and out. Sometimes it's a signal thing.
So you think I should
So,
call her and just I should call her or talk to her and simply say, I'm really sorry for all this pent up resentment that I've had for you. I've treated you badly because of it. I think she knows that already, but because I have made amends, but I'll do it again. I'm more than willing to do it again because
but
I
can you do
really
something specific? Not
specific.
not a general, hey, I treated you like crap. I'm sorry. It's bigger than that. Because when we take all these behaviors, like I said, you have a couple pages there, and we boil it down to, I'm sorry, I know I've been resentful. Does it really, does it really cover it? Is that enough? Would it be enough for you?
I could tell her I feel badly that I gossiped about her to other FA members and that I
No,
said,
no, 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 that's going to cause harm. She wasn't part of that. Now she's going to have to think, my sister talks about me to groups of people. So now there's a new resentment that's made. We can't, that's not the point of an amends. The
well, then,
amends is to set you free. And the freedom that you're seeking is the poor behaviors that you've been doing.
okay, so um, the hatefulness, the spitefulness, um, um,
I mean, it could be something like this, Carol. Ariel, I want to apologize to you because when we're in public places, like a party, a funeral, whatever it is, I treat you poorly. And I don't even know if you've noticed or not, but it's important to me not to treat you that way. So I'd like to
okay,
apologize for my behavior. So it's not pinpoint specific, but it's more specific than I just resent you. Because then our next question is going to be why? What what
that,
what where does that come
yeah.
from? But if
Well,
you
that's
say
a very good
specifically,
suggestion.
if you noticed when we're at a party, I treat you like crap. I talk about you, two people in the party, and you're across the room. I'm sorry I do that to you. I want to make an amends. It's specific.
But I
It's,
don't think
hey, I did
like,
this.
okay,
And I
okay,
want you to
treat you
think about
poorly.
it, Carol, before I know you're anxious to make an amends, but
I
the
am.
amends is not going to do you any good if it's not sincere, honest, and legitimate.
Oh, I feel so sincere about this, Lisa. I really do.
You're sincere about making amends, but you're not 100% sure what you're making the amends about.
Well, definitely treating her poorly. Definitely treating her poorly and
And
definitely
it would be great if you can give her some examples because, like you said, she might not have noticed. And if she says to you, well, what do you mean? You don't want to say, I don't know, I'm just making an amends. It's so much bigger than that. This is not an apology. This apologies are cheap. They're a dime a dozen. This is an amends. This is so much bigger than that. This is an event that some people can never bring themselves to do. It's so immense.
Mhm.
It's not small. It changes lives. Not only the
Right.
person it's receiving the amends, but the person that's giving the amends.
I see that. I do. I see that.
So I tell
Okay.
you to go back to your resentment sheets, your recent resentment sheets.
Okay.
We don't want to
Okay.
pull a bunch of old stuff in. You're going to have enough current stuff to work with. We
Okay.
want to keep it as
I
current
will.
as possible.
Okay.
All
Got
right.
more work to do. Yeah. It's
Yep,
hard work. This is
that's life. That it is.
hard
It is. And
work.
clarity is really important because we don't want to go into it and do more harm. This is not about doing more harm. This is about freeing both of you.
Right. Well, thank you, Lisa. I appreciate it.
No
I
problem.
appreciate it.
If you get stuck, just let me know and feel free to come back and say, this is what I'm going to do this time. I want to get out of those stories that are on that sheet. And I want to go to
Yeah.
a specific event, especially a recurring event. And I want to make amends for that because I want to be free of this hatred that I have towards my sister.
Yes, that's true. Thank
Okay?
you.
Do some prayer around it
I
too.
shall work on it.
Good.
You know
Thank
I
you,
will.
Carol. I know you will. Thank you for being open.
Sure.
Go ahead, Linda.
First, I want to thank Carol because I feel like I don't want to crosstalk, but what she was saying about her sister, mine is not my twin, it's my baby sister. But everything she listed, I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And it blocked my step 4 from me writing it down because I'm just going to put one specific thing. It was harm from when my father passed away. And it was like not being able to speak how she manipulated the family and what she did that I can't even speak to her, which led to my fear of if something happens to her and I haven't let go of that resentment, how would I feel? So with this
I'm
things more
glad that my
specific,
openness, Linda, I'm glad my list helped you. That really makes me feel good. Thank you so much for commenting on that.
yeah, I thank you because it's like, okay, it made me go, okay, there's my blockage that I didn't want to look at that.
Good.
And then when you said the men is not an apology, I don't want it to be an apology, but I want the men's to break the ice. Sometimes I want to do it indirectly because I still don't want to speak to her because of the pain. But I know I have to do that work to break that ice, to get the courage to even make a phone call,
Yep.
so I thank you for that because I realized that was blocking that one amend that I know I need to do. So thank
You
you.
know, Linda, the thing that will get you closer to making the amends is to get those feelings into a resentment sheet or one of the fear trains and really work it through so that you get down to the bottom and you've had that turn. We turn and we see something different because once you see it differently, and most especially you see your part that you played in it, you'll be more able to approach her because a lot of that fear that you're experiencing is your own. It has nothing to do with her. So when you get in there and you excavate that fear or that specific resentment that you have about what happened, and you turn it around and you see it differently, you'll behave differently and you'll be able to take that amends and go forward with it. But right now there's still a lot of raw emotion in there. So
Yeah.
once you do that worksheet and you get through that whole worksheet, you might have to do it twice. You'll be more ready, willing, and able to do the amends because that fear will be gone. You'll have worked through it and you'll get to that place where you can say, now I can do, you might want to do an indirect one still. You say, you could do a very light letter that says, I want to see you or I want to talk about this situation. And then when you're in her presence, you can really make an honest to goodness amends with her. But sometimes, if it's been a severe relationship that's really caused a lot of pain, we might want to take the first step, which is the indirect amends. And then when we feel like that was received in a way that's not frightening or angry or any of those emotions, we can go ahead and say, okay, now I can do a direct amends. I'm going to actually see her face to face. And I'm willing to do it because right now I have no relationship with her. So if the fear of doing the amends is, oh my God, what if it destroys the relationship? Well, there's no relationship now.
Hmm.
So you don't really have anything to lose. You have everything to gain. So when
Right,
you
right. And yeah,
do that worksheet and you get all the crap out of the way, you boil it down to that last sentence at the bottom of page 2. That's when you can say, I see my part in this. Now an amends makes sense to me. But we can't go into an amends thinking it's the other person and we didn't play a part in it.
exactly.
It's useless. Why would you waste your time or their time? So first you have to get to the place where you realize the part that you played and what you're responsible for, your behaviors. And then you can say, oh, wow, I behaved this way. I deserve to give her an amends.
Hmm.
And some people could say, well, it's like an apology. It is like an apology, but it's so much bigger because it makes everything shift because you've done the work up to the amends, which is going through the resentment sheet, getting to the
Hmm.
bottom of that resentment and saying, wow, now I see my part in this and I own amends because I did some serious stuff too.
Yeah.
It's always two people. The percentages can be all over the place. Maybe she's 90% and you're 10% responsible, or vice versa. But there's
Hmm.
always a responsibility on both sides. The percentages don't
Right.
really matter. What matters is you want to be free and you don't want to be the kind of person that walks around potentially on a daily basis not loving their baby sister. So
Hmm.
that's why we do the work because our natural instinct is to love our baby sister. So when it's
Right, right.
possible to make an amends and amend the relationship, you have to give it your best shot. But you got to get there first. You got to get to that place where you say, I'm making an amends because I realized the part I played in all of this. She looks like the bad guy, but I'm not innocent either. What part did I play?
Mhm.
And I'm only responsible for my part, and I'll only offer an amends for my part.
Mhm.
But that's what will lead you to the possibility of having a relationship with her again.
Right, right. Okay. And I want to thank you for your slides because that first slide, I was like, oh my God, that's the way to wash my resentments, to put it in that ocean. But anyway, so that was cute. Thank you.
That is, and I was actually going to do a little video this week at the ocean because I live pretty close, and I was going to add it in, and we had a snowstorm, so there's no beach right now, but I will at some point get to that. But the beach, to me, the ocean is like you can really wash your sins away. So
Right, right.
yeah,
Thank you. Okay.
thank you, Linda. Go ahead, Rochelle.
I have a question. I wanted to thank Carol and Linda both because I got a lot out of what they both said. But what happens if, in my case, it's my brother? I don't really want a relationship with him. I mean, we do have a relationship of sorts, but what happens? Like, feel like if I put myself out and and I've tried making an amends to him before because he didn't speak to me for many, many years. But we have a decent relationship now, but I don't want any more than that. And I feel like now that he's older and he feels lonely, he wants more of a relationship with me. I don't want that. I got plenty of friends. And so I'm fine with making the amends, but I don't want it to be like you just said, you want a relationship with your baby sister. No, I don't really. I don't know if that makes me a bad person because we're related by blood.
Nope.
But How do you do that? How do you make an
So,
amends? You
but
can't
what,
put a but on the amends. You can't say, I'm sorry for what I did, but I don't want a relationship with you.
okay, so what is the amends for? What are you amending? What did you do? What do you think your behavior was?
I think when he's called me lately and whatever, I haven't been particularly receptive to him, and he expects me to be there and to be helpful and do things for him, and I don't feel like it's reciprocated. And I mean, he doesn't live very far from me, and he's also in his 70s, so like driving him someplace, like if he needs to have his car repaired, he expects me to pick him up and whatever. And I don't really want to be that person. I'm not a bad person because I don't want to be that person for him.
No.
And obviously, I still carry a big resentment because he didn't speak to me for 25 years and never told me why.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be that person. I don't want to, I guess I don't want that blood relation. I mean, it sounds terrible as I say it out loud, but
No, it doesn't.
that's
It,
the
it,
real truth. I don't want to be brother and sister with that kind of relationship. And I prefer to spend time with my friends in the program who are basically family by relationships, but maybe not family by blood.
right, right. Well, you could approach it in a way where you want to be as honest as you can, but you don't want to cause harm. And you could say, I feel like there's a lot of new dependence on me that I really don't have the time. And I
Yeah.
apologize that I don't have the
Mm.
time for you, but that's how I've lived my life. And he hasn't been in your life. But now
No.
that he needs somebody, he's kind of worked his way back in. So there's a couple of issues going on. It's not just about amends, it's also about codependency. You're not responsible to drive a 70-something-year-old person to anything just because you have the same parents. And I'm pretty sure everyone in the room could probably say they have a sibling they feel that way about. That's part of this disease. So, don't anyone feel bad that you've had the situations you've had. It's been part of the disease. It's just part of the whole ball of wax.
I think for those of us that are codependent, if we look back, I shouldn't speak for everybody, but I have this vision of my mother up there going, he's your responsibility because I'm dead, and you need to take care of him because that's what a good sister does. So then
Okay,
I'm saying to myself, I'm a good person, but I don't want to be the good sister. Does that make
but
sense? You know?
yeah, yeah, but now you got to talk about, have you done a resentment about that statement you just made about your mother?
Right. Yeah, there's a good one.
Yeah, because that's what it's really about.
It is.
Your
The
mother,
rule.
you think your mother's somewhere.
Somebody at one of my meetings talks about the rule book. The rule book we grew up with and
Mhm.
the rule book we have now.
Yep,
And boy, that rule book can get really heavy
it
and
can get
hard.
heavy, but we have to watch ourselves to see how we behave about that rule book. Because if we don't behave in a proper way, we end up making a lot of amends to people. And that's what this
Right,
is about. It's about changing our behaviors, especially towards the people in our lives that are important.
right,
He might not be important. He
right,
might only have the importance of a estranged brother, basically. But like I said, part of the issue is you have to be upfront and honest about feeling like, you blew me off for 25 years. I don't even know why. And now you want to be in my life, and I don't have the time.
right.
That's not your
Thank you,
problem.
Lisa.
Yep.
This is really helpful. Really helpful. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. Go ahead, Dee Dee.
Okay, thanks. Hey, and thanks everybody. So you said in the presentation, you said something about the person who I'm making amends to, that I somehow will know by osmosis what harms I've done. So that's a question. How in the hell can I know how they feel? I can't make it up. So don't I have to be prepared if I'm going to do an amends with somebody to hear a whole bunch of shit that I hadn't been aware of of how I pissed them off and how they're still pissed off.
No, that's a strong no, Dee Dee. Somebody else's feelings about you are their problem, not yours. You have no control over that. If you're
So,
going
so,
to make,
so I'm going to make an amends for one thing that I'm assuming they're upset about.
okay, that's not what we do because we don't assume anything about anybody else because it's not about them. We look at our behavior towards them. How did you treat this person that you believe is going to have an angry response to your amends? What did you do? What was your behavior? What are you responsible for? Doesn't matter how they reacted to what you did. This is about you. It's not
So if
about them.
so if I'm not prepared to react differently to another person who I'm reactive to, and I'm not willing to accept them for who they are, just how they are, what good is an amend?
Good question.
Well, if you're in a relationship with somebody the way you just described, I would have to say, why would you be in a relationship like that to begin with?
Okay, let me use it.
Because,
Let me give you an example. So
okay,
when my so I haven't engaged my dad's wife since the day he died. So that's going to be 6 years pretty soon. And there is some behavior that I don't know really if there's a relationship there ever or not. But I do know that I made some really bad mistakes. You
such
know,
as let that now we're getting to the heart of it. What's the mistake you made?
so one thing was I wasn't entirely sober, and my coping skills um, were not good. When my dad and I was helping my dad, who was discharged from the hospital with congestive heart failure, and I was helping him get well, and there was a conflict of interest there um, about money, and he at it's very complicated. Long story short, you know, I don't like I don't like the person.
Okay.
That there's no space for me, and I don't really want to. I don't in my life, which is short, um, be give time and energy or ear space. I don't want to give ear space for when I don't exist. You know what I mean? I'm like,
Yes.
okay,
Yes. So have you done a resentment sheet on this person and to
no,
see?
you'll no. I'm forgive me because I'm just no.
All right. So that's what I want you to do first. When you get to the end of that resentment sheet, if you still feel like you need to make an amends for your sake, you don't have to make a direct amends. You do an indirect one, or you do an amends with something else in place of it. You don't
So
have to go to the person.
a living amend, yeah, a living
Yeah,
amend for
do a living
myself.
amends.
Yeah,
Yes, because this isn't about fixing relationships. It's not about changing the way things turned out. It's not about any of that. This is about letting yourself off the hook because
yeah.
you behaved poorly in your disease. And you want to say to the person, I was in my disease and I behaved this certain way. And I just want to apologize for that. I'm not apologizing because I disagree with you about money about my father. I'm apologizing because I was an asshole. That's all. We don't get into the details of, oh, I'm sorry I said
So,
XYZ.
so don't I have to be first feel like I'm not an asshole? Like I feel
No,
like I mean, you know what
no.
I mean? There's
You mean, do you
no.
have to agree with the fact that you're not? No, you're making changes. That's all you can
Okay.
do. You're
All right.
you're treating people differently. You should, I hate to use that word, but you should want to treat her differently because it's a reflection of you And it's a
Yeah.
reflection about how you feel about you.
Yeah, I got a long way to go. I love you guys. I'm gonna mute. I love you, Lisa. Thank you.
Thanks, Dee Dee.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark.
Sure. Yeah, I think the last question, like I didn't look at it at all, to be quite honest. I haven't really I don't know that I've really sort of like added new people. Because I think one of the things I try to do is I try not to have like a few different lists floating between the different programs because it just gets too confusing.
Yep.
So I'm trying to retcon the list that I already have in one of the other active programs that I'm working right now.
Hmm.
But I was listening to everybody today, and I think I'm going to take like another stab at it and look through it. But usually, to be quite honest, with most of the stuff that I'm hearing, I've always been taught to like just immediately do living amends. You get me? Um,
Yep.
and the reason why is I know, especially with my first addiction, which was to substances, I would say I was sorry, and I would be quote unquote good for a while, and then I would end up being worse, or exhibit the same, but like basically exhibit the same behavior or much worse, like a year, after that, because I resumed all of the bad stuff that led me to the bad behavior. You get me? So,
Yeah.
so for me, because I did that so much, um, through all my sallies originally, with other step work, I just kind of like, okay, if I'm doing whatever, like one quick like example, I used to be really sort of like heavily connected in like Al-Anon, right? And I had a sponsee, and I said something really sarcastic to them one time, and they were like, "Well, why would you say that to me?" And it was so interesting that up until that point in time, for decades and decades, I had never really thought that being sarcastic to people that really warranted doing a 6 and 7. But after this interaction, like from that time to this time, I don't really see like being sarcastic as a positive thing. Like I've actually changed more so that I'd rather just be angry with you, like visibly angry, like I'm angry with you,
Hmm.
try to hide it and
Yep.
be like, I'm not angry. And let me say something smart, see where I'm demeaning. I'd rather just say, and so it's been interesting because my personality it's become way more aggro at times. But it's actually healthier, if that makes sense, because I'm not
Yep.
pretending that I'm not angry when I'm angry. Like when
Right.
I'm angry, I'm
Right.
honestly angry. And then if I need to be like, listen, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that, or whatever it needs to be, rather than kind of like, let me just say this thing to cut you, like, and then pretend like I was like being funny or something like that, whatever I was doing. Um, so that kind of stuff is sort of like what comes up. And then I think the last thing is that I was able to see that unfortunately, like a lot of my amends that I still have on my list are actually very ancient, and they're one of the main reasons I'm here. And like some of them really are very, very old, which I had to let go of that beating myself up, and and most of my amends are money. So and I just had to write it down. Like I just made the cards, I just wrote the thing down. And then to kind of wrap up, I did actually, you didn't tell us to do it, but I already started doing a 9.
Mhm.
So like I paid something down today because I don't know, it just seemed appropriate. So I'll leave it there. Yeah.
Two things, Mark. When people use sarcasm, it's a manipulation. And what they people do is they'll do something and they'll say it sarcastically and they'll see what the response is of the person. And if the response is okay and they're comfortable with it, they'll stay with it. If it bothers the person, they might backtrack because, oh, I was just being sarcastic. It's a cover up. So we don't want to do it. It's not genuine. And the other thing I'd tell you is if you have old amends that you haven't done yet, it's not about the people. or the amends. It's about the behaviors. So if you have this list of people that you feel like you need to make amends to, it's not about that. It's about the behaviors you were using when you did it to the people. And what you want to look at now is, okay, I have all these people and I have these amends about these particular behaviors. Have I let go of them? Have I let go of the behaviors, not the people? It's not about the people. It's about us and our behaviors. So look at your list. And if those behaviors are still active in your life, you got to take a look at them and decide what you want to do about them. Because an amendment, it amends it, it fixes it, it changes it. That's why we don't say apology. Apology is just like a cover up. Amendment means I want this changed. I want this behavior to go away. I want this behavior to be not part of my life. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to bring it out into the open and I'm going to shine it for everybody to see. And then I'm going to apologize or make that amend to the people that it harmed because I want to be done with it. So if you have an amends that you might be hanging on to and you're not getting rid of it, you might want to be keeping it. And you want to look at that and say, why aren't I addressing this amends? Why aren't I putting it away, putting it to bed? So take a look at the mark and see what you want to do with that. Go ahead, Carol.
Well, I just want to be clear. I just want to be absolutely clear with you because I know that I was judgmental and I was terrible when I was in public places or at parties and everything. And I knew it's not like I said anything, but I'm sure that I ignored her or whatever I did. And I don't want to do that anymore. I
Right.
really I want to treat her in a in a loving way. I
All right.
really do. I
Look
really
at it. Look at it this way, Carol. When you look at your sister and you think, I don't want to behave like this towards her anymore.
I
What is
don't.
that behavior? What is it? What fits into that under that category? This is how I treat my sister, and I don't want to anymore. And it's this particular behavior that I need to eliminate. What is that behavior?
Annoyance, irritation, those things. And then you're saying go back to my resentment, my fourth column, find a specific incident and
Yeah,
relate it to that.
yeah.
Like I like for example, I am just absolutely abhorred at her dishonesty. I think she's the most dishonest person. And it just
Okay, so that's just an opinion, Carol. We're not talking about your opinions of people, unless you've said it about them in front of other people and embarrassed them. That's a behavior.
oh, I never did that. Mm-mm.
Okay, so what you say or think or tell other people about your sister, it's not important to your sister. She wasn't involved.
No,
And it would only cause harm if you told her about it.
right.
This is about showing up and saying, hey, I did this to you and I want to make an amends about it.
Okay. So I was distant, I could say I was distant towards you at this particular specific time, and I want to apologize.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
yes. You're welcome. Go ahead, Joel.
One of my worst amends is to a dead person,
Okay,
and that's my brother Michael.
okay,
My brother Michael, in some ways, was very hideous, but that's not the point.
right.
When he was dying, when he was dying, I was really angry with him for a number of things that he had done prior, which were very hurtful to me and which were very, very, very hurtful to my wife and which were hurtful to other members of my family and which were just really he would never admit it. He was never he was so he was toxic at times.
Mhm.
But what I did to him was really bad. And that was when he was alone down in Florida, I stopped paying attention to him. And when he was dying, and I sort of knew that he was going downhill. I still didn't pay much attention to him. And it wasn't until the very end that I actually paid attention to him. And he knew it, and I knew it. Yet he actually was more of a gentleman about it at the end than I was. And he just wanted the love. And I of course gave it to him at the very end, but it doesn't rid me of the guilt, and it will never rid me of the guilt. I can't make amends for the way that I treated him, but I can go to the well, I can't even go to the grave because in Judaism I'm a Kohen and I can't go to the grave. I'm not allowed in the cemetery, but I can probably break the rule and go anyway. But it's one of those things where you know, I just did something that to him that I'm so angry with him. It was like just like red in the face angry all the time. Whenever I thought about him, I was just angry, but I nevertheless did a really rotten thing to him. And I can apologize up and down and really feel the apology and cry about it and get all choked up about it. But, when you do something like that to somebody you really love, deep down beneath all the shit, it just, it doesn't cut it because the harm was really done, you know? So,
Yeah, the harm does get done, but it doesn't mean that it can't be amended. And we look at life in time segments and we say, well, for this amount of time, I was this way and I treated him this way. How can I possibly make that up? He's gone. The most wonderful thing that you could do is to forgive yourself because he can't do that now. He's gone. But in my estimation, if you were able to visually see that you've done that, I think that would bring joy to both of you. So that's what we do with people that we can't actually go to and say, I screwed up. I was in my own disease and I did things that I regret and I just want to, make that amends to you. And you could do it in the letter.
yeah,
You could do it speaking. You like you said you could sneak and maybe go to the grave or maybe you could go to a place that you knew he was
yeah,
really feeling wonderful. But we don't want to carry the guilt and the shame. That's the whole point of the amends.
I know.
So one thing that you could potentially do that would amend it would be to maybe do a little volunteer work in a hospice situation or a hospital where you could say, I couldn't be there for my brother, but I'm going to be here for somebody else who doesn't have a brother that can be here for them. And that is what heals your heart. You can't fix your story. It's already happened, it's already gone by. But you can change what goes forward. And I think that that's a tremendous living memorial to the brother that you lost and didn't make
That's a really
to
good
do
idea,
that.
actually. That,
And,
yeah,
and
doing
there's
something
lots
good.
of other things if you can't get to a hospice or a hospital that has a cancer, whatever it is. There's things that you can do like writing cards or writing letters, or there's so many ways that you can honor your brother and the love that you had underneath the anger that you never got to while he was living. Because it's about us. Again, this is about making Joel okay with Joel. Because when Joel isn't okay with Joel, he treats people the way he treated his dying brother. So the goal is to make Joel okay in the world. And the way that we do that is we go out and do these things like showing up somewhere where people are needed and don't have people. So it's not an impossible situation. There's always a way to extend love to
Mm.
somebody when the person that needed it is gone. So keep in mind, it's the most important thing about the amends is it's about us. It's not about fixing relationships. We're never going to be able to fix any relationships. Nobody in this room is going to fix a relationship, especially when the person's gone. We can't fix the past. We can't. We can only do better going forward and hope that we can touch someone else's life so that they don't do the same thing you did. So we learn from the amends and we pass it on. And that's what makes us not feel shameful and horrible about ourselves. Because we know it was in there, but it was covered up by our disease, probably both of your diseases, however they were playing out together. But now you're in recovery, so you're going to do things in a recovery state of mind. So we reach out to people because we can't reach the people that have passed. But the act is the issue, not the person. It's all about the act. What is our next behavior going to be? I want to be loving and kind to somebody because you couldn't get there, Joel. If you could have, you would have. You could not give your brother what he needed. You didn't have it in you at the time. It's not a judgment. It's just a fact. In your own disease, whatever was going on in your life or your relationship with him, there was a major block. And you weren't able to make the amends while he was alive because it might have removed that block. But to carry that around with you, it just perpetuates the disease. It doesn't honor what he was all about.
Yeah.
But the recovery and the overcoming of all that disaster that you lived in, that's a memorial to a brother that you lost. So I would say, you could write letters, you could burn them, you could bring them somewhere, you could do cards. Go help somebody that doesn't have somebody that cares enough to show up. And there's hospitals full of people. There are homeless shelters full of people that just need somebody to sit and listen to them for 5 minutes. That's a huge amends. And you could even say to them, I'm here because I lost my brother and I didn't get to fix the relationship because I wasn't in a state of mind where I could do that. But I want to offer you a hand in your pain.
Yeah.
Because that's who I am now. That's the person I'm becoming. I'm not that person that felt hatred towards my brother. That's gone. I'm in recovery.
Good words. Thank you.
You can do it. Anyone else have any questions or comments or concerns about their 8th and 9th step? I will say this
I just
about.
had one
Go
quick
ahead, Mark.
question. Yeah, so I just quickly I reflected on what you're saying, but what if the answer to the questions is that the whole addiction itself is what caused the problems?
It doesn't matter. You still behaved the way you did. And although you weren't responsible, you're responsible now for the amends. It's not about guilt. It's not about judgment. It's, hey, I was in a place, even if you weren't in an addictive place, maybe you have emotional things that are going on or life's happening. I was in a place where I behaved in a way that I don't think is very nice. And I just want to tell you that I apologize to you because of the way it came across. And it's not about them letting you off the hook or anything. It's just we need to say, I'm sorry. I screwed up. I didn't know what I didn't know, but I know now. I can look back and I can see that my behavior sucked, and I want to tell you that. And you know what? It could be any kind of situation. It's not about that. It's about our behavior. We did it. We might have a reason. It might even be valid. It might be everyone would do the same thing. It doesn't matter. We don't want to behave that way. That's not who we are anymore. And if we don't amend these things, we will continue to be that way. And that's not recovering. That's still in the disease. Because you can take away the addictive thing, whatever that is, whatever your addiction is. And if you're still behaving poorly, the addiction wasn't the problem. It never was. It's how we behave. It's our unmanageability. So when we become manageable through our higher power, we do things differently. And we start out by saying, yeah, I screwed up, but I'm doing things differently now. And I'm going to apologize. You don't even have to accept my apology. I just need to say it because I want to be this different person. I want to live a life where I don't have to keep looking over my shoulder saying, what did I do to that person? Why did I do that to that person? Why did I behave that way? I can't even believe I said the things I said. We all are there. We've all done that. We've all behaved poorly. We wouldn't have addictions if we didn't, and vice versa. So keep in mind, this is about our behaviors. No judgment, just fact. I behaved a certain way. I look at it now and I see it was wrong, and I just want to tell you that it is, and I apologize that I did that. But the amends is that we make the decision when we decide to tell somebody that we're deciding in essence that we're becoming different people. And that amends is the beginning of it. The amends is I'm throwing out the person I was, and I'm letting you know because you were part of that. You were part of my history. I'm not that person anymore. And I apologize, and I'm going forward with or without you. Because some amends, we make the choice, I've decided this person's not going to be in my life. And that's okay too. As long as you're not feeling the guilt and the shame over it still. But the only way to get rid of the guilt and the shame is through the amends. And if we don't get rid of the guilt and the shame, we won't get rid of the addictions. We can't. There's no way. There's no how. There's no way to do it. If there's no more questions, I don't want to keep everybody too much later.
Wow, this was great. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks, Dee Dee. Like I said, if anybody needs clarification, I totally get it because there's this huge ego that we're all carrying around that's going, she don't know what she's talking about. What the heck is she, what does she mean? That person was such a creep to me, or that person did this to me or that to me. I don't understand where this is coming from. That's the ego getting in the way of the light of the Holy Spirit coming in and doing the healing. So don't listen to it. You know the part you played. If you look at your resentment sheets, it's right at the bottom of the second page. What role did I play in this? That role is where you need to make the amends. Not the event, the role. The role that you're playing needs to be amended. And when you amend the role that you play, you won't behave the way you've behaved because you're doing a different role. Does that make sense, Carol? You look like you're going, what is she saying?
No, it makes sense. I was just thinking about my resentment. I thought I was a misunderstood sister, but I really misunderstood her.
Exactly. Exactly. And in those misunderstandings, how did you behave towards her? Because of the misunderstanding.
Mhm.
That's your amends.
Okay.
Okay? It's a progression. It all leads up to this spot. These steps, that we're going up these steps. There's a succession to this. This is how they're supposed to lead us.
Thank you.
So if you're at a place where you feel like you're ready to actually present your amends, we want to be very careful and very sure about it. This is an important thing that we're doing. We don't,
I'll run it by you before I do it.
you can do that. We don't want to cause any more harm.
Right.
That's not the goal. No more harm. Because we don't want to live with the harm. There's too much shame and guilt.
That's right. I
All
agree.
right. All right, so if you guys want to join me in the Serenity Prayer, you can unmute or not. Hi, Sarah. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change,
Change
the courage to
courage
change
to
the things
change
we
the things
can,
I can,
and the
and
wisdom
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 to know
to
the
know the
difference.
difference. Thanks a
Thank you,
lot.
everyone. And keep
Bye.
thinking. Keep thinking about these things. You're doing great. Give it lots of thought. That's what it needs. And have a great week.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
It was awesome. Wow.
You.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Courtney. Thank
Thank
you.
you.